All right, y'all. So before we get into it today, I gotta say something real quick. I had one of those moments, right, that caught me off guard. Have you ever been so locked into something that you were building that you forgot that people can see you building it from the outside of it? Like, you're so deep into the work that you're doing, surviving the whole process, figuring it all out, trying not to quit while you're in motion, that you don't even realize the seeds that you've been planting this whole time have been growing right in front of you. I was sitting with some of my boys, right? These people I've known for almost 20 years. And one of my homies, somebody that their opinion I actually value, he couldn't stop talking about the books. He couldn't stop talking about the podcast. He was genuinely confused at why I hadn't told him what I was working on this whole time. And my reaction in my head was like, bro, I didn't even think I was doing anything crazy like that yet. Because when you're inside of the build, you don't see the progress. You just see all that unfinished work that's sitting in front of you. The distance between where you are and where you're trying to go. But sometimes the people around you see the thing that you're trying to build clearer than you do. That moment, it sat with me for a couple of days. It made me realize something. A lot of people, they quit for real right before the outside world catches up to what they've been doing. And then a lot of people, they start shaping themselves into somebody else right when the people around them were starting to understand who they actually are. That's what this is about. And I'm going to say something that might make a lot of people uncomfortable. Everybody's not supposed to sound the same for real. Everybody's not supposed to build at the same pace. You see, somewhere along that line, we started confusing attention with purpose. Because the second someone starts to build something real, here comes all the opinions, right? You should be more funnier. You should go more viral. Maybe you should dumb it down a little bit. Yo, you need to be more controversial. You should talk a lot more spicier. And then before you know it, you're not building your thing anymore. You're building what everybody else is comfortable consuming. That's one of the most dangerous things that can happen to a creator. Some people are accidentally becoming the versions of themselves that they don't actually respect just to feel seen. Look, I'm not interested in prostituting my purpose just to get attention. And after this episode, I hope you're not either. Welcome to Word Forward, where we build structured clarity in this noisy world together. I'm your host, Damien J, and this is episode 22. And here's the wildest thing about growth. A lot of people will get opinions the second they get the motion. You know, when nothing is happening, nobody had any suggestions. And when you're quiet about it, you know, you're building in the background, figuring things out, crickets. But the second things start clicking for real, suddenly everybody has those ideas you were once seeking. You know, sometimes people mean well for real. Sometimes they're genuinely excited for you. Sometimes they'll see the potential that you haven't fully claimed yet. But here's what I had to learn. Everybody wants to be a designer in a house that they never picked up the hammer for. They never poured the foundation. You know, they weren't there when the water started leaking at midnight. You had to fail and do all the patchwork by yourself. But now that things are starting to look like a little something, suddenly there's opinions about where the furniture should go. And you know, some of those ideas, they're not even bad. But that's not the point that I'm trying to make. The point is, if you let everyone redecorate, you'll end up living in a house that looks like nothing you envisioned, surrounded by other people's taste, inside something you built with your own hands. And the worst part to that, you still have to live there without these people. You know, honest feedback, that does matter. Outside perspective is real, don't get me wrong. But too much outside influence at the wrong stage of your growth you'll stop building your vision and you'll start managing theirs. See, that's the difference between iteration and drift. Iteration is when you get better at the things you're working on. And drift is when you quietly replace it with whatever got the most attention and reactions the last time. They both look like progress from afar, but only one of those is actually your thing. Let's talk about that for real. Social media has shown us a specific kind of pressure for creators. And it's not the pressure of being good at your own vision. It's the pressure to perform a version of your thing that the algorithm will prefer. And those are not the same things. Conflict, it gets amplified. Outrage, that's what moves the numbers. Rage baiting, hot takes, drama, the most extreme versions of any opinion. That's what the machine was designed to push, or so it seems, because that's what keeps people from scrolling past you. But here's the thing about the algorithm that I notice. It doesn't know you personally. It doesn't know your goals. It doesn't know what you're trying to do for real. It doesn't even know who you're trying to reach. It just knows what made people stop scrolling the last time. And then it keeps suggesting you to do more of that. So if you made one controversial video and that blew up or that went viral, now you have the pressure to become more controversial. If one emotional video ended up everywhere, now every video seems to have the need for that same emotion out of you. The machine is training you based on your highest performing pieces of work, not your actual body of work. And if you follow that signal long enough, you'll stop being a creator for real. And you become a content dispensary. You just start producing whatever keeps your numbers up. And look, this happens to our culture especially. People reward destruction a little bit faster than everything else. Trash will travel. Drama will travel. Chaos, that'll grab your attention. There's no doubt about that. And if you start chasing those things, yeah, you'll get the attention all right. But at the same time, you'll lose something in yourself that going viral will never give back to you. Me personally, I don't want to build a platform by tearing my own people down. I don't want to become just another loud voice, just screaming in the microphone for likes and clicks. Because eventually you have to live with who you become. A lot of people got the attention that they were looking for from that kind of work. And then they lost themselves trying to get to that bag. Now they can't find their way back to themselves. Honestly, because the audience that they ended up building, they only showed up for that one performance that caught their attention. The real person behind that, they might not have a true audience yet. Listen, people, don't turn yourself into trash trying to become treasure. And let me say this, though. The platforms that you're using, they're not your personal business. It's just meant for traffic. Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, and any other outlet, that's just traffic. Yeah, the traffic is useful. Yeah, the traffic is also necessary. But traffic from those places, they're just rented. Think about somebody who's trying to build everything on a piece of property that they don't even own. Their business, they'll start thriving. The foot traffic starts to grow. And then one day, your landlord just changes up your lease. Or they sell the land right from underneath you. Or your neighborhood, it gets rezoned. Every single thing that you build on that property is now in jeopardy. Mostly because the foundation was never yours. That's what building on these social media platforms eventually start to look like. You don't own the followers. The platforms own your relationships. You're just renting access to it every single day. And at any given time that they want, they can change up your algorithm, limit your reach, or just shut down the whole thing completely. And there's nothing you could really do about that because you never really owned the land for real. That changed my whole perspective and approach to creating. I learned that followers scroll, a community will really stick around. Your community will support your whole movement. Your community will grow alongside of you. And your community will buy into that ecosystem that you end up creating because they're actually here to see you, not the algorithm that pointed them into your direction. The real difference between chasing the metrics and building something real, to me anyways, is the difference between a report card and real foundation. That's why I encourage people to build depth, not dopamine. For real, here's the part that I want to speak to y'all about honestly. This is what I think matters underneath it all. It's not that people don't know their true purpose. It's not that they haven't thought about what they want to really be successful in. Most people know that part. The reason that they don't go in that direction is because going your own way means you can't blame the formula anymore. If you end up doing what everyone else is doing and then it doesn't work, you have a reason to slow down because that trend that you were hopping on, it didn't blow up. The algorithm might shift or your timing was just off. But if you build something that is fully yours, something that came from your own perspective, your experience, your lane, and that thing doesn't work out for you, that's just on you. And yeah, that could be some scary work. So some people, they stay in those crowded rooms, not because they believe in it, but because that room comes with built-in excuses. Hey, look, here's what those crowded rooms never tell you, though. Nobody builds a category by trying to be the better version of somebody that already exists. You really grow that category by going in those places nobody thought to look yet. You see, everybody is trying to fit in a specific box. The same format, using the same trending topics, the same energy gets put out. Different faces, of course, and I understand why. Those crowded rooms, they come with a proof of concept. You can see what's actually working already. You can model off of what already got the traction. But by the time you get motion inside of those crowded spaces, everybody's already fighting for the same limited attention. And let me put you on to something if you never knew this. There's a concept in business called the blue ocean. You see, a red ocean, everybody's competing for the same marketplace. And you call that blood in the water. Everybody's fighting for the same type of clients and customers. But a blue ocean, that's uncontested territory. It's something new, basically. And that's a category that hasn't really existed yet because nobody has built one. And the thing about these blue oceans, yeah, it's uncomfortable at first because nobody's really validating your format, your process. Nobody's really seen that in action. You're not getting that feedback that says, yeah, you're on the right track because there is no track. You're laying down the track as you walk. And a lot of people, they mistake that discomfort for the failure. They look back at all these crowded areas and they see the activity going on. And they think that's where the motion is. Maybe I should go over there. But what they're looking at is a room full of people that's competing just to be second place. Yeah, it's an empty and quiet room at first because nobody fully understands what you're cooking up until that one day everybody just starts pulling up on you. And then suddenly everybody wants to do the thing that you're doing. You know, that's funny how it works, right? I'm not trying to win the fastest, you feel me? I'm in this for the longer race, the marathon. You know, the algorithm, it doesn't know your true purpose. It just knows what made people stop scrolling the last time that they saw you. And it'll just keep telling you to do more of that. If you follow that signal long enough, though, and you stop being honest about your creations, you just become a content vending machine. And content dispensaries don't build legacies. They just feed the machine. So let me wrap this one up for y'all. The World Wide Web, it will reward your performance. It'll give you the numbers, the attention that you're seeking, and the metrics that look good on paper. But your peace, that's going to come from your alignment. That means what you're doing on the outside, it needs to match what you actually believe on the inside. All the people that skip that part, who trade what they actually are for what performs better on these platforms, they end up describing it the same way. I got everything I was chasing. I just don't recognize myself anymore. And to me, that's the most expensive risk you could ever take. It's not the failures that you're going to run into. It's not the slow growth. Getting everything that you want by becoming somebody you don't even respect. I don't know who needs to hear this one today, but if you're actually out there building something real, don't let anybody, any impatient person, rush your purpose. Never let trends bully your integrity. Don't let pressure turn you into somebody that you're going to end up having to apologize for being. Take the feedback, study the game, listen to your audience, improve what you need to improve. But most important, make sure your improvements bring you closer to your true self. I'd rather grow slowly and still recognize myself when this thing begins to work at the end of the day. Slow built and whole beats fast built and hollow every single time. And that's for real, for real. So if this episode hit, send it to somebody that's building something real right now. Somebody that's trying not to lose themselves in that process of being seen. Follow Word Forward on all platforms, Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. And drop a comment and tell me something. Have you ever felt the pressure to become somebody else just to fit in? And what did you do about that? I want to read all of those, and I'll respond. The inner circle is in the description, so we can touch this topic a little bit more. This is Word Forward, y'all. I'll see you in the next one.